So before we start any of our exercises, first thing we do every time is to see, are my relational circuits on? Are the problems gotten bigger, or are the relationships bigger right now? Am I able to appreciate the people in my life and see them as a resource? And that's what we want to get started. And we've got some simple steps again from the Belonging, Thriving Recovery program that we're going to teach you. And we want you to practice this, even get started with it before you come to Thrive, so that you can begin to get your relational circuits on and warmed up and ready for the exercises we're going to be doing. So we're going to be doing the short form of this. We have a more extensive version that we teach people in the Thriving Recovery program, but this short version seems to be enough to get your relationships going if you're one of the people who basically has some good relationships in your life anyway. The first thing we're going to do is to breathe and scrunch. It will mean scrunching up your face in a way that looks like one of two emotions. You'll either scrunch it up so that it looks like fear, and with fear, we scrunch up our forehead, eyes pop out big. And the other is anger, and when that happens, we just make our nose get as big as possible. So that's the anger response right there. So when we do one of those two responses, it triggers our body to start that response, and then when we stop, it also triggers our body to stop the response. So when we're stuck in a feeling, one of the ways to do it is to switch it on and off and on and off until it starts to move, the same way that we would wiggle a nut or a bolt that was stuck. We'd move it back and forth until it finally started wiggling. Well, this is what we're going to do with our fear responses as well. Every time we do this, we're going to repeat the verse that says, whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. All right, let's have a look at how this exercise would look. So pick which one you want to do, either your anger or your fear. And I'm going to do fear. I'll open my eyes big. And the earliest of our fear responses, which you've seen in infants, no doubt, is that they arch their back, they throw their head up, and they breathe in really hard. Like that is how it goes. So this is what we're going to do together, and we'll do our fear response, and then, or anger if you scrunch your nose, and you throw your head back, and then as we come down, we will say, whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. And we will do that 4 times. Ready? Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. Whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. Whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. Okay, now the next thing we will do is we're going to yawn to the left and to the right. Yawning triggers our parasympathetic response, which is part of quieting. So we would look this way and we'll yawn. Oh, whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. And then we'll yawn this way. Whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. And back this side. Whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. And back to this side. Now, if I wiggle my jaw a little bit, sometimes I get a real yawn going, so. Whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. And we do that 3 or 4 times. And then we do the third part of the exercise, which is to wake up our attachment center. It goes through the vagus nerve, where the basic information comes into your brain. And the vagus nerve comes to the surface of your body in a couple of places only. One is right in the middle of your ear, and you'll find that if you try to stimulate in there, you'll annoy yourself. The other place that comes to the surface of your body is right here on either side of your chest. So what we're going to do is we're going to knock slowly back and forth on that part of my chest at about the speed of my heart. Now, the reason that we do this is that when your heart and your lungs are working together normally, your heart will speed up every time you breathe in, and it'll slow down every time you breathe out. People who are particularly susceptible to post-traumatic stress don't have those two things working together, it's a sort of indication that your nervous system is basically disorganized. So this is encouraging your heart and breathing to work together. And the way it'll work is that as we breathe in, we slowly tap faster. So I will do it like this. And then as I breathe out, I'll just rub that spot and slow down, and I'll say, whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. Whenever I'm afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord. And we'll do that exercise again 4 or 5 times. And this is one of the ways in which we can then begin to train our body to come down into a less fearful, less adrenaline-based, less angry state. And that helps us to get our relational circuits on. Now, there's more steps that we can take, but that's the basic training that we use each time to get ourselves noticing what's going on in our body, calming our body down, and being able to then look for some kind of a connection with God. We use this for the Emmanuel process, the Emmanuel training, as well as for getting the relational circuits on before all of the significant interaction exercises within Thrive training. Otherwise, they just sort of turn into staring at each other, and people say, I don't know why Wilder created these staring exercises. I mean, I just stare at people and I don't feel anything. And it's quite true. With the relational circuits off, these exercises do absolutely nothing. With them on, they powerfully retrain your mind to a life of peace and joy.